Hello, everyone. This is JPO, and today I'm joined with
Christopher.
yes, and we are a podcast
Podcast
named
name
In
in
Brackets.
brackets.
Got
I
you.
wonder how delayed that will be in the recording.
Anyway, how you doing today, Christopher?
How are you doing, John?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
Just started school. This is my second week of classes returning.
Mhm.
Um, it's we'll see. It's something.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing to note is the worst thing about this semester is parking.
Oh,
There,
I saw a little bit that parking is worse this year.
it is the worst it's ever been.
Oh
Since I've
no.
been there, there is no parking at all, at like anywhere. It's like I go to Green. It's like there's no parking at the Tilly. There's no parking by whatever that place is. There's
I don't
no.
know
There's
what
not
that
even.
place is.
Is it by the gym? The main parking for Green. There's not even parking over by the radio station entrance on that side as well, which is
Mm-hmm.
like there's nothing. Like the average time it takes you to find a spot is 30 minutes of circling the lot. You can cut that down a lot by just stalking a person as soon as they leave the building
Mm-hmm.
and just follow them to their car, which is not a healthy thing you want to do.
Right.
So, I'm
Plus, there could
now
be multiple people doing that for the same person.
they've not yet discovered that. So,
Oh. What?
I
John,
caught on to this technique early.
John, you need to cut this out from the podcast. You can't let anybody else know.
Well, I'm done with that because I'm now
Oh.
parking at the Toys R Us
Oh, wow.
and just walking through Thomas Road.
Wow. So you're dieting and walking.
I know. That's great. But yeah, no. Other people are catching on to the Toys R Us, and that place
Good.
is starting to fill up as well.
Honestly, that's a good
I
thing.
don't blame them because there's nowhere to
Yeah.
go. But yeah,
Man,
it's
I'm
just
so
walking
glad
would
I've
be.
graduated.
Yeah, walking is. I guess it's fine for me. Get me back into that low effort exercise.
I'm actually surprised that you're doing that.
See, I got tired of stalking people, and I got tired of waiting 30 minutes, hoping for a
That you'll
spot.
walk.
Yeah, so I'll just walk.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but that's where the professors used to always park, and now they're like, man, this place is getting crowded.
Oh my gosh, that's actually kind of funny.
It is kind of funny, but yeah, that's
I
the.
can't believe they don't have their own reserved spots. Like I thought all like those reserved spots at Green were for the professors, but I guess not.
They're for special people.
Oh. Oh. So professors aren't special?
No,
Well, that sucks for them.
it is. Um, but
But
things are going fine.
good.
It has been a little bit panicky because as soon as we started, we opened up a show
Mm-hmm.
like the first week that
Mm-hmm.
they were working on during the summer, and like me working, I
Mm-hmm.
just I didn't have any time to figure out like what my schedule would be normally because
Mm-hmm.
we just open up a show and I'm working every night and it's like
That's
what
kind of extreme. You
it's
should
like
have waited till second week, I feel.
yeah, like it's still it's just been crazy.
Mm-hmm.
um Things should hopefully slow down
Good.
because right now I'm just like looking, just thinking it's like, oh, this is how the rest of the semester is going to be. Like, oh, it's going to be hard, but it's not going to be that hard at all
Okay,
because
so classes started this or last week?
last week.
Last. Okay, sorry. Just making sure I got that timeline right.
Yes. So the show has its second weekend, which I believe it's also closing this weekend as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll see. I've also been assigned my senior project,
Mm-hmm.
so that's gonna happen in December. But I have to do 40 hours of shop work all semester. Like
That's not going to be fun.
I hated doing 20, and I'm doing 40.
Why 40?
No clue. Like well, because it's technically a 400 level assignment, so they want you doing more than your average.
So glad I've graduated.
Be glad you graduated.
Just hearing about school stresses me out. I'm not
Like,
gonna
yeah,
lie.
this is stressful, but like as soon as I start doing that, it's gonna be less stressful.
Mhm.
So everything in my mind is just stress because everything just happened so suddenly. But we'll deal with that as soon as things start to slow down. I have Gershner for location sound and intermediate sound something post production.
I wonder if I took those at the same time. I don't remember. I'm curious. Anyways.
Yeah. Anyway, location sound, that's like that meets on Tuesdays from 3:45 to 6:15, 2.5 hours.
Oh, delirium hours.
It's long hours. So at least it only meets once a week. So
it's only once a week. Okay.
yeah, so that's good. But still, I'm hopefully I can be skilled enough to remember how to work Audition and Pro Tools since I didn't take the that course for Pro Tools.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, the what's that called?
Intensive.
The intensive. Yeah, no, that wasn't required on my DCP.
It honestly probably should be.
So I skipped it.
Yeah.
Like I considered taking it because it's probably gonna be important, but I was like, but I do want to get this thing done. So
I kind of understand. I will say when I took it, even just the first class, just felt so much more comfortable with Pro Tools than I ever was prior. And so, for those listening and were curious, I would recommend at least the first one, but then you take the second one, try to get certified, which I did not. I got sick and busy, so that didn't help. But yeah.
Okay, something happened there, but we're back.
We're back.
So yeah, we're back. School's happening. The second week. Here we go. Let's see how it goes.
All right, so you just watched a movie.
I just watched a movie today. Me and my mom, we went to the Dollar Theater, and we watched Jurassic World Dominion.
Sorry, just a hot moment on Dollar Theater on this Saturday. So not for you guys listening to podcasts, I apologize, but for you, John, is some movie theater day or something. So all movie theater tickets are like $3. So
that sounds great, except there's nothing in the theaters right now worth watching.
That's kind of true. But also, if you were dying to see 11 extra minutes of No Way Home, that's perfect to just drop $3 on and not spend 15. So, I don't know. I did hear though there is a new post-credit scene replacing the Multiverse of Madness teaser. So
okay, well,
I don't know. Just throwing that out there.
I'll just see it when it comes out.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do that. I don't think I'm gonna have enough. Oh frick! I have a 3 show Saturday, so yeah, I'm definitely not gonna be able to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, so you went to Dollar Theater to see everyone's favorite movie,
Jurassic World Dominion, the third of the film of the Jurassic World trilogy.
It was a wonderful, beautiful movie with the most intricate, amazing plots filled with nostalgia done perfectly, right?
Right. Yeah, you summed it up exactly. But no, Jurassic Park, I do like those. I do like Jurassic Park. And I had seen the last 2 Jurassic World films in theater. So me and my mom, we made a date out of it. So we decided, we might as well see this one in theaters as well. So yeah, I had to have popcorn again for a long time, which was great.
Yay!
It was nice. It was good. Yeah, the film. I mean, it's all right. It's all right. Really, that is really how you can sum up some of the Jurassic World films. Where like they're interesting. But how do I describe this film? Because I wrote a review. It's that the film has this incredible concept of the dinosaurs are unleashed upon the world. They're outside of the park. And it's like, with that concept, that's how the last film ended. We're like, oh my gosh, this film's going to be a nice, gripping survival story about trying to survive and coexist with dinosaurs. And that's what the director was like, that's what this film is about. But most of the film is actually an action-heavy James Bond film or Mission Impossible style film about this corporation doing stupid things, and so they're just doing that stuff. It's like it's not about survival, it's about espionage and stuff, which is disappointing because you have this fantastic concept, and the actual scenes where you have that concept are great, but those scenes are very little in the movie. And we have this thing. They do bring back some of the old characters, and I do like how the old and new characters, how their stories, whenever they got together, it was an organic way of combining the two plots, which I liked. But it's just a waste. Just a waste. This whole espionage spy thing is still really cool for another franchise. But this is like Jurassic World, Jurassic Park. The three trilogy films have always been about realistic survival. Jurassic World trilogy has been like, we don't trust our audience enough to deal with that. So let's have this heavy action, which looks cool, but like just I don't hate this film. I like it better than Fallen Kingdom, but you know, it should have been a different film or a different franchise. But this is what we got.
So how many stars?
3, actually, because like
relatively high.
That's relatively high because there are some good elements to it. Like generally the Jurassic World stuff, there's like some good stuff in it, but like when you think of Jurassic Park, you don't think of these things. And that's what brings them down. Like Jurassic World is literally Jurassic Park, but with action and lots of CGI doing these crazy things, but kind of take away from survival of the original trilogy. Which even the original trilogy, the second and third Jurassic Park films, their canonicity was just so in question because the Jurassic World films just disregarded them. This one, though, is the closest one that actually lets them be canon, which I like. But
simply
they're just
on the fact that they have the old characters, or beyond.
Well,
that?
they have the old characters, but the characters briefly mention very, very tiny details that connect to those two films. Which, like, great, because, continuity. But still.
Continuity is still kind of ruined at the same time.
No. Yes and no. It's not ruined, but it brings a lot to question of, like, what they're doing. But no. The continuity is fine. The films do work mostly together. But it's just like the Jurassic World ones have just been like, oh yeah, Jurassic Park, that's the only film we care about. We're not even going to think about the other two.
Right.
Even though they do exist. So, that's my thoughts on this whole 6 films and movies. And specifically this latest trilogy.
All right, so we shall. Well, first off, I'll just say, I haven't seen a lot of reviews necessarily, but that was a little more positive than I was expecting you to give it. Not
Oh
gonna
yeah,
lie.
all the reviews I've seen are negative.
Yeah.
So
Um.
I don't
So,
disagree with them, but
so we
you know.
shall hear what else John watched next week. As this
Mhm.
week we're gonna focus on Lord of the Rings. As
Yes.
I went on vacation this past week and met up with one of my friends, Celestria, who has a YouTube channel. Please go subscribe. Just type in Celestria. First result, good fun stuff. Especially if you like reading, but if not, she's just fun to watch. But no, so we've been friends for like 6 years, and so one of the things we're like is like when we see each other, we're gonna watch The Lord of the Rings. Who knows how many years ago we said that, and when I went, I made sure we did that.
Yeah, because like you and I would talk about how I wanted you to see Lord of the Rings.
And I
Like
kept mentioning her.
yeah, because like Lord of the Rings was the one next to Star Wars that I would have wanted to show you. So you've seen them. You
Now
saw
I've seen them.
you saw the theatrical cuts.
Okay, here's the thing. I didn't know how long the theatrical cuts were. The frick?
And they're even longer, extended.
I know. I knew the extended were 4 hours. I didn't know the theatrical were 3 hours. The frick?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there you go.
I don't know. I was, if anything, max 2.5 hours, right? But I was expecting, measly 1.5 to 2 hours, whatever. You know what I mean? Maybe stretching over two. Because, when Endgame was revealed to be 3 hours, everyone was like, oh my gosh, I need to use the bathroom immediately. And the movie wasn't even in the theaters yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I thought, okay, Endgame is like the first of its kind, or at least of popular status. Nope, Lord of the Rings did it
Especially
years
the
ago.
third one. The third one
Yeah.
was definitely the 3 hour one.
Oh yeah.
4.5.
For the extended.
Yes.
So that was my first shock.
Okay.
There was almost part of me that almost just wanted to do the extended, seeing how almost similar in time they were, because I thought there was going to be like a 2 hour difference, not a 1 hour difference. But I think in the long run, I'm glad we didn't, because I was starting to lose my patience, halfway through a movie or whatever. Due to,
Right.
the style of pacing, style and the style of pacing. Um,
Mhm.
so I think it was good that I chose the theatrical cuts, and then also just in general, we wanted to hang out, so it, that's 9 hours. That essentially took up like a whole day of hanging out
Yeah.
on its own.
Yeah.
So I'm glad things worked out as they did.
Oh my gosh. Me and my friends one year, like one of our last years, like we did a marathon of the three films extended in
Oh
one
my
day.
God.
That was about 12 hours. Got there in the morning, left late at night. By the end, we were like so delirious. I was making up the story of Aragorn in the second film. He has that horse. Well, in our story, he falls in love with that horse.
Oh my gosh.
They have a romance. There's that part where he's like on the river dying and has that kiss, that ghost kiss Mario, but the horse shows up there. We're like, yes, he's kissing the horse. And like they have this bond. First, through some means or whatever, the horse ends up on the boat at the end of the third film as they're leaving.
Oh my gosh.
Um, that's what happens when you
Okay,
are
which boat? The
delirious.
elf boat or the
The elf boat.
okay.
The
That's
elf
too
boat.
funny though.
It was fun. We were having a good time.
My gosh. I know I did a 12-hour binge. Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, Infinity War, and Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Tolkien
this
is a very different style.
Tolkien is a very different style. So I don't know if I could do that. I was having a hard time with each movie, I'm not gonna lie. Especially I could go at this in so many different directions. My mind is racing.
Mm-hmm.
Um All right. I'm going to compare it to Star Wars. Why are you comparing it to Star Wars? Well, I compared Marvel to Star Wars. I'm going to compare this to Star Wars. Marvel, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings are among the things where everyone has watched and they look at me like, oh my gosh, you haven't seen it. What the frick? You're crazy. You need to watch them. They're incredible, whatever, yada, yada. And so Star Wars being the other most recent thing, Lord of the Rings is just the easy. Sorry. It's easy for me to compare Lord of the Rings to Star Wars.
Sure.
Not gonna fully get into Star Wars details, so I'll go to that episode, but there'll be enough context. As a series, I like Lord of the Rings better. Connected more with the characters, or had more emotions for the characters than I essentially ever did with Star Wars. But Star Wars has the better movie, Revenge of the Sith. That I love that movie. So yeah, there wasn't like a singular Lord of the Rings movie where I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this. Which one did I prefer? Probably the second one. Why? Because I was connecting more with the characters. Yes, there were quite a few subplots, but that kind of ironically dragged it down a little bit. As much as you're almost wanting variety, it's almost a little too much variety.
Being like Merry and Pippin and the ends.
Specifically that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they extended that. There's even more of that.
I heard there's more. I feel like I kind of get it, and it's cool once the trees do their thing at the end. Like that's a lot of fun. But just within the movie, I'm like, this is so pointless. Until we get to that point. So I kind of wish there was a little less of that. Anyways, but number 3 was just fight. That it got boring. Like there wasn't a lot of story in number 3.
Right, but like a lot of this is that the story is just all 3 films are one story. So the third one is like the climactic third act.
Okay,
with
but
all
there were way
this
too many
action.
battles that like each one felt like the final battle, but nope, there's another one, and I couldn't
which really
remember
helps you bring the scale of the threat and just how much of a struggle it is for each character for each battle.
Okay, but the thing is, I couldn't remember the purpose of each battle. You know what I mean? I did doze somehow somewhere in the first half. I missed the scene where Frodo tells Sam to leave.
Okay.
Around that area. So then.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's about that time.
Yeah. So when I didn't see Sam the next time, I'm like, wait, what happened? Anyways, but no, it just I couldn't remember the significance of each battle. Essentially, like a battle happened, it's huge, it's incredible, and I believe they win, and then yay. And I'm like, sweet, final battle. And another battle happens. Like, wait, so what's the significance of that battle? And then what's the significance of this battle? And then another one happens. Like, oh my gosh, it was probably the battle that made the most sense was when they were diverting the forces from Mordor. Like that one, like I understood the most out of all the battles in that last movie. Yes, that is like the shortest one or whatever, but yeah.
So understanding all the battles are actually just defending themselves. Like they're not trying to pursue anything until the final battle of Mordor, where like they have a purpose to just fight,
right,
to win versus fight to survive, which they've been struggling to do. So
that helps a little bit, but it's also like.
No, I get it. There's a lot,
why
lot
the enemy,
of action.
Like it's like why did the enemy want to do that? Like I couldn't understand. You know what I mean? Why? Like I can understand the good guys have to defend themselves, but I couldn't remember why the bad guys were attacking in the first place. It's too much politics for me to.
There's less politics in this one, though. There's much less politics.
No, I believe that. I'm just saying, like, it was too fresh, too new. for me to really remember and keep track of.
Okay. But like in basic terms,
Or like even just knowing the map. So I
Okay.
don't necessarily know the map, and so like city
There is a
names
map.
start to blend in, and then I'm like, so that isn't that or whatever.
Right. But the simplicity of Tolkien is like he's not trying to build the whole, oh, we have politics. It's like he's very clear.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, they're bad and they want to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need to know. You don't need to know any motivations. He wants that ring. He wants to destroy man. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really all you need to know. But we are just so filled with like the morally gray in all of the recent films that like we're looking for that in our black and white story here. Which the black and white story here just makes it, for me, so much simpler to just get into it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there were enough of like gray area points, especially with like individual conflicts with the ring. You know what I mean?
Sure, the ring is the only time where you get gray areas. It was like,
Yeah.
can
So
we
like that
not
was a
use
good
this?
balance. Good balance of having the black and white and good balance of having the gray.
Mm. Yeah. You keep talking because you watched the film.
I
The
did.
films. Yeah.
So again, so just like Star Wars, I had to try to get acclimated to a different style.
Of course.
This is a style that I'm more familiar with than Star Wars, but
Mhm.
it's also a dated style, and also these movies are stupid long. Those two elements, especially it being long, didn't help. Um, Again, nothing necessarily against the movies or whatever, but they were just hard. And like, I think it's really cool the fact that they were able to do 3-hour movies for these books. I know
Mhm.
I've heard that they still cut out a lot from the books, but the fact that they were essentially able to do the stories justice and didn't feel constrained by doing an hour and a half movie, you know what I mean? I think
Right.
that's
Right.
pretty cool. But it's still exhausting.
It is
Exhausting
exhausting.
as heck. So I don't necessarily come away from Lord of the Rings a super fan,
Of course.
but a lot of people are saying it does, grow on you, or you like it more and more the more you watch it. And then also just in general, I like it more than Star Wars. There isn't, there's more Star Wars lore for me to be more interested in the
Yeah.
other properties, and also based on how long Lord of the Rings is, there isn't enough interest for me to like. No, I do have more interest now, especially with the Amazon thing.
Mhm.
Not that I'm gonna be necessarily watching that, but I'm gonna be intrigued by the commentary, the general public commentary for that. Um, but still, it's like, um, it is a lot. It is a lot. Yeah, characters. Unless you have commentary on that, or else I'm gonna move on to a few characters I
You
like.
can move on. You can move on.
I think Aragon is my favorite character. Just
He's
has a,
cool.
yeah, he's
Oh,
cool.
right.
Mhm.
Just going back to
Yeah.
people's comments on the films growing on you. I think that's very true, even for me. Like
Mhm.
I watched them as a kid, and I liked them as a kid, but I was more into Star Wars. And like the more I rewatched them growing up, the more I understand the thematic elements. I'm like, oh wow, there's actually lots of good stuff in here. Even subtle biblical messaging. Especially in the third film, there's a really great moment where Gandalf is talking about like dying and what happens, and just the words that he uses are just the words in general that Tolkien has are just so well crafted
Mhm.
that I really enjoyed. And so I've fallen in love with Lord of the Rings more these past few years every time I watch it,
Mhm.
than I did more as a kid. Because as a kid, it's all about the action.
Mhm.
now I'm like, oh, I'm into the characters, I'm into the thematic elements,
Mm-hmm.
into a lot of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like hopefully you would enjoy them if you ever go through them again.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you've seen, you know what the story is,
Mm-hmm.
just take a deeper look, especially with the extended.
Yeah, again, like I said, because the essentially the runtime is more similar than I thought they were gonna be. I probably am gonna end up with the extended next time, but also gonna take them chunk by chunk. Like we did
Yeah.
watch like a movie a day, but essentially I was just like, oh my gosh, but I want to hang out with my friend and just watch a 3 hour movie. So and even so, if I do extend it, I'm probably gonna watch in chunks because
Yeah.
it
Like
gets
in
to like
chunks of the extended.
well like halfway through the first movie,
Okay.
I'm like, oh, this would be a perfect way to end, and it doesn't, and it keeps another perfect ending, it just never ends. And
So
like I don't know or think if I'm gonna have the patience, especially just coming off them right now. I'm probably having that mentality, but also I don't know what it's gonna look like in the future. Am I gonna have the patience to sit down for 4 hours like that?
okay,
Probably not.
so here's the thing. Here's the thing to take note. If you get the extended films on like DVD or Blu-ray, um, because the films are so long, they cut it into like 2 discs. So halfway through the film is like half of the film is one disc, half the other half is a second disc. So you can have an intermission in between if you wanted,
That's cool. The thing is, I do have access to HBO
and that's
Max.
complete. You know.
Yeah, that's the thing. So that's why I'm kind of thinking of like again, I'm not planning to watch them anytime soon because if anything, as much as I want to do my Pixar binge, I don't feel like that's. I need to
Well,
stay up to date with Star Wars for meme potential because with Semper Mattel and me working there, like I need to keep up with this popular media of Star Wars.
You're not
So
gonna get the chance to watch the extended on HBO Max because there won't be one next year.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, then I'll just go and visit Celestria again, and then she has the extended, so I'll just go see her and just.
wow, you don't want to visit me because I have it. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
No,
Just
no,
visit
you
your
could.
other friends that you don't talk every week on a podcast. That's great.
Okay, we text like every day. Gosh, John.
Wow. Sorry.
Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, it's not high priority right now. Besides, next thing we're doing is like what, Harry Potter?
What? Really?
I don't know. Isn't that what you said?
I said
Or
Harry
was it Star
Potter.
Trek?
No, I said Harry Potter was like one of those things that you could eventually get into.
Eventually. What? So if you came out or I came out to you, what's that next thing that you would want to do?
Um, what's that next thing?
Yeah. Took
Um,
care of Star Wars. Took care of Lord of the Rings. What's next?
I guess like if you hadn't seen like Clone Wars and stuff, maybe that. But if I wanted to get you into something else,
Yeah.
maybe Pirates of the Caribbean, something
Okay. I'm
just
I'm
just
kind of down with that.
something like fun.
Yeah.
Um, like I just watched the Harry Potter films,
Right. That makes sense.
so but like I said before, Harry Potter is just one of those things where like watching when you feel like watching them.
Okay. I'm
Um,
probably down for Pirates at some point. So
yeah,
cool.
Pirates. Other than that, DC.
Yeah, I think DC is another thing where I feel like I'm gonna do on my own time kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, Star Wars is, I don't know. I need to look at my schedule. Oh, not schedule, the things I want to watch or whatever. But again, just I like not to say that Star Wars is guaranteed to have memes, right? I haven't found any memes for She-Hulk yet for Semper Mattel, right? So it might not happen, but it is a very popular media, and so I kind of want to stay up to date with that for that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, we'll see.
Maybe
Lower Range
Indiana
Extended
Jones.
is. Oh, probably you should do that. I would actually recommend you take me through Indiana Jones. Why? Because I think I have a little more incentive to watch Pirates than Indiana Jones. I guess
Right.
just with the recent Johnny Depp hype,
Okay.
and it being on Disney Plus.
I mean, if you watch Pirates, go ahead. I do.
I mean, listen, I have my list of things. That's not that high priority, but I
No.
feel like that's something that I feel like I could see myself watching. Not because I don't like Indiana Jones or nothing against it. But I feel like that'd be perfect for you to take me through. I do want to see Indiana Jones, but that is perfect for you to take me through.
Yeah.
All right. Still, that's a bit away.
It's a bit away. There's a fifth one coming at some point. I don't know
Right.
when.
So that also could be a good lead up to that.
Lead up.
Yeah.
If it's next year, I don't know how much of a lead up we can do.
What
Because,
do you mean? I want to see if I can visit in May. That's a tentative.
Oh.
Yeah. Thinking about seeing my brother graduate. So I'm thinking about being in the area.
Well, I'll be graduating in May as well.
Oh my gosh. So if they line up, maybe.
Maybe. I'd love it to.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know,
Okay.
I love it, man.
But
we'll see.
Again, that's not official yet, but that is something I am considering. So for your head.
Yeah, because unless I move to Branson, I don't see myself taking another trip.
Right.
I
understand.
So.
I completely understand. Let me think.
Unless you die.
And even if you do end up moving to Branson, I'm still planning to visit. So,
right.
Yeah. I do feel like Andor is something I could just watch without officially starting my Star Wars binge, kind of thing. You know?
I want to agree with you, so we'll see.
You want to agree with me?
I want to agree with you. That really depends on
what they decide to implement.
Yeah, because they're always just including these things from other medium just out of the blue, and you're like, what? That's cool. So
okay,
Andor doesn't seem like a show that is going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Keep me updated. Keep me updated. They do have a 3-episode premiere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess let me know if you think I can watch it after you watch those, because I'm not going to jump on it like I am with Marvel. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah, you let me know and I'll make a decision based off that.
Make a decision.
Yeah. Anyways, so did I say Aragon, right?
Aragon.
Probably my favorite. He's just cool, has a good spirit about him. Just seems like someone you could trust. You know what I mean?
Did Celestia tell you that he broke his toe?
I don't think she did, but a coworker at work told me about that story.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Celestia, she told me she wants to go through the bonus features, but she just hasn't.
So she didn't really tell you about some behind the scene things about stuff.
Yeah, not maybe one or two small things, but not a lot.
But yeah, no, that happened in the second film when he kicks
I remember
that helmet.
Someone kicking a helmet. I couldn't remember if it was him.
Yeah.
But but when I saw it, I'm like, that gotta hurt.
Another cool detail.
Mm-hmm.
In the first film, in the end, with that battle in the woods, there's a scene where he's fighting against this orc, and the orc throws a knife at him, and he deflects it.
That was the other story coworkers told me.
Yes, it's the stuntman accidentally missed, and if he didn't deflect it, he would have been impaled. So realism.
Yeah.
Okay,
so let me kind of finish off the characters, but I want to hear a little more about the behind the scenes and the realism and what technology was afforded to them back then that Marvel would have created all on their own these days. Anyways, so I think also you have to respect Sam for his loyalty. That's
Oh,
ridiculous.
Sam's loyalty is the best.
It's incredible.
He's the best friend you could ever have.
Seriously.
Mhm.
Gollum's pretty enjoyable, honestly. I'm not gonna lie.
It is. I love Gollum.
Yeah, he's funnier than he should be. With that, the dwarf is definitely pinned up to be the comic relief,
He
and
is.
does make me laugh, but also is a little too forced in my opinion.
Okay. No, I get you.
Yeah. Like I probably laughed like half of his lines, yes, but it was also just like I don't know. I was hearing like the books, they don't take themselves as seriously as they do in the movies. That's what a friend at work told me.
Okay.
So like I feel like if that spirit was more carried in the movies, I think I wouldn't have that issue with the dwarf. Who knows? But I think because it was just so pinned on that one character to be the comic relief, it just I don't know. It was a little rough for me. I feel like Gollum wasn't necessarily intended to be comic relief, but just due to the nature of the character, it becomes funny. You know what I mean?
And
So like that
Gimli,
felt natural.
of course. And Merry and Pippin specifically. Merry Peregrine Took, Pippin. He's also the comic relief in that he's dumb and causes a lot of issues. But he has character growth, which you don't see in a lot of other things. Cause
I couldn't remember who is which for those two. So.
Oh, that's fine. I couldn't either. I probably couldn't even tell you if you showed me the actors. I could tell you if I saw the characters in the film, but like I couldn't tell you who's who.
Me. I feel like the three I mentioned are kind of the three standout characters of who I enjoyed the most. But it was crazy. Just even in the past couple days, I see a couple memes that use Lord of the Rings as the basis of the meme, and like, now I get it. Like, see, like I feel like some people are like, oh, it's okay. You don't have to know the context of stuff to like the meme. That's partially true.
Partially.
But no, seriously, when you see stuff, you understand.
You do.
But it was weird. The first one was the weirdest to watch.
Okay.
As it relates to meme content, because there are a handful of memes that come from the first one.
There are. Yes,
but
there are.
Also, the VeggieTales Lord of the Beans. Like the first 30-ish minutes is like the first 15 minutes of the VeggieTales thing, like scene by scene, essentially.
Oh boy.
Like copies. So I was like sitting there, like struggling to accept what I was watching, comparing it to the VeggieTales thing, and like it was really difficult. Thankfully, after a period, they start to diverge, and the VeggieTales starts to have its own more distinct differences and more focuses on its own story and having references instead of being a copy. But that was honestly rough for me. It kind of it was really hard. It was way harder than it should be. I was like, just even it was wild to me. Like the first shot is like the same, and then the moment when Gandalf and Frodo see each other for the same first time in the movie is like shot by shot replication. VeggieTales and the original. Like even the time like Frodo like widens his eyes and runs to Gandalf was like the same in VeggieTales. I just remember that. And mind you, I've only seen the VeggieTales thing like 2 or 3 times. This screwed me up so much. I kind of hate that. You know what I mean? So it made it really hard to enjoy the beginning of the first movie.
I bet.
I don't think I realized that until now. Like I realized it in the moment, but I forgot about it because then the
Mhm.
movie becomes its own thing. It's so long or whatever, and then you forget about it mirroring VeggieTales. But right now, I'm like, dang, I kind of hated that. And like, it's cool, it's fun, right? For those who enjoy it and see it, see the originals first in VeggieTales, I think that's great or whatever. But no, that was really rough for me.
Yeah, I have very few memories of Lord of the Rings and how it looks. So
I felt
I can't make that distinct visual difference. Like there's a couple shots that I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that.
hmm I a lot of friends and people say like Lord of the Rings is like the best VeggieTales, but obviously that's based on them loving Lord of the Rings.
Right.
But now I'm really curious if and when you rewatch Lord of the Beans, like what your reaction is gonna be.
If and when,
Yeah,
which would probably be whenever we start up our thing again in 10 years.
in 10 years. Yeah. I feel like that'd be just a fun thing for you to just rewatch. Like I've considered rewatching it
Probably.
now. But no, I don't know. I feel like I want the Lord of the Rings movies to sink in a second time before I appreciate the VeggieTales thing.
Most likely, yes.
Yeah. And then who knows what else the Beans reference that's in the extended cut. um, I don't know what the order of events of the trilogy and the VeggieTales thing is, but whatever.
Right. And in this, you did not go through the Hobbit trilogy, I assume?
John, we wouldn't have had time. Are you kidding me?
No, you would not.
Again, same with like Star Wars. I wanted to see what Lord of the Rings was traditionally known to be. Um, and I've heard enough conflicting opinions about The Hobbit for me not to watch it this soon.
And there were reasons, yeah.
So yeah, I didn't want to. The Hobbit can happen one day, probably will. Not high priority, just
No,
really isn't.
probably not. And like, if you do ever see The Hobbit, you can just watch the extended because there's really no difference in the time. Like, it's just like 10, 15 minutes of difference.
Good to know. How
So,
long are the movies in general, though? Are they?
in general, they're like 2.5 hours.
Thank God.
Um, they're not. I mean, they're long, but like they're not Lord of the Rings long.
Good.
Yeah, the extended is kind of disappointing because it's not as extended that you are used to. So
Right. Yeah. So
yeah, Lord of the Rings.
I am running out of things to say.
Yeah,
So
I don't think I have like a favorite of Lord of the Rings. I have favorite moments. Because I just consider the story just to be the whole three films put together.
that's fair.
Whereas in Star Wars, each film is like its own story in its period of time. Where Lord of the
Right.
Rings is one long story told in three films. They have like the little events in each one, different themes going on in each one, but they're all the same story,
Mhm.
which is how Tolkien wrote the story. But the book was so long that the publishers like release it in three parts, and that's what happened.
Wow.
And that's what happened. So there's that. Favorite moments. I always love the Battle of Helm's Deep. It's just
And which one is that?
that's the okay. That's the nighttime battle in the second film, in the rain, while they're trapped in
Yes.
this little
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
Especially just like once they get their hope back and just start rhyming these poetic words, and Gandalf comes in the sunlight to save the day. It's like epic, and the music comes in. The music, my goodness, just I love Star Wars music, but Lord of the Rings just gets you emotionally hype.
So let me think about that. So, and I feel like some things that are commonly thought of as tropes, something like, oh, that worked out well. They came in just a nick of time. There are definitely elements in Lord of the Rings where it does feel like that, but it also
Sure.
does feel like it works. It feels like it works better than most things. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it definitely feels like it works more than most Marvel things. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay, this kind of makes sense due to like these circumstances or whatever. That this would happen in a nick of time.
Yeah, and if I think of like what would be my very, very favorite part, would probably be in the third film during their long battle. It's when the horsemen arrive, and like they line up, and the king gives this speech about death. It's like, well, death right onto their deaths, and they go on running and marching. The music hits in, and just builds up into that moment. Like I said, that was the song in that mixtape, the battle mix, I think, that I really enjoyed, and that moment just gets me. It's so chilling. I don't get that often with Star Wars, but with Lord of the Rings, there's a lot of chilling moments that I just really love.
I feel like there are one or two other things I can't fully remember off the top.
I mean, there's a lot of characters. Gandalf. I just love Gandalf because he's the cool wizard guy by a good actor. And then Legolas, this is during the time of Orlando Bloom's popularity during his like first film, really, was Lord of the Rings and Pirates.
Oh, he was in Pirates.
He was in Pirates, and like those were like his two first films ever. And he was very popular.
Right.
Now, like, you don't really see him at all, which is, 15 minutes of fame showed up very early.
I kind of did like the character, just like a good presence, but also
he was just there to have like all these cool moments. Really, like, I'm gonna shoot this many people. It's gonna look cool. I'm gonna ride on the elephant.
Him and the dwarf counting was funny.
Their friendship as they grew in each film was always like fun to see. Especially by the end. They're like, we're friends now. Yes, that'd be fine.
I unfortunately my brain goes to the VeggieTales name, Lego Lamb or something. So I it's hard for me to remember the real name.
Right.
Yeah, so overall, if I'm forced to give a rating, I'll say 7 out of 10. Still digesting, but there's a lot of respect for it.
Yeah.
A lot of respect for it that I have more for than Star Wars.
There's a lot of respect. Like, they spent 3 years of just pre-production.
Wow.
Like, just making sure this is where we're going to film. Make sure that we have all the costumes that we need. What's also very beautiful is that all the landscape is in camera. Like, that's just how New Zealand looks. And it's just beautiful. Like, today that just can be achieved with a green screen, but they took the time to like go there, and it just looks great. Looks better. Which is something to appreciate. But yeah.
All right, so talk a little bit about the technology.
Technology. How
little, how much was used in such, especially considering, what you said, like Marvel is, 70%.
Okay, so explaining the technology, like Star Wars was definitely the biggest in terms of how it pushed technology. I think what Lord of the Rings did, especially with the second film, was motion capture with Gollum. Performed by Andy Serkis, who has been like really the king of motion capture creatures in his performance. Like that was something that they did really well, that they were doing. But this small detail that's a technique that they've had for a long time that's like pushed to the limit here is forced perspective. Because they have to have a way to show that the hobbits are smaller and like Gandalf is taller. So, and how they did that is they have a smaller set for the hobbits. And they have that bigger set for the hobbits so that their homes look bigger. But then for Gandalf, they built a smaller set. And they filmed his scenes separately. Like sometimes,
so like they pieced it together essentially.
Yes, and so sometimes the characters are like far in the back, or big characters are forward, and they would reshoot some things and place it together. But like they did a similar thing with The Hobbit, of course. But that one they used more green screen instead of actually building the set, which the Hobbit films, the actor for Gandalf hated working on those films because he was all alone for months talking to these volleyballs, these tennis balls.
Was it the same actor or a different actor?
The same actor. And so, like, before in the films, like, he could talk to the other actors. Here, he's by himself because they have to get the height difference. And he's acting by himself. And it made him sad each day, just coming in and seeing nobody there but a giant green screen and these tennis balls. Yeah. Besides that, a little bit more use of just CGI battles, like for giant battle sequences with all those horse.
The original trilogy, right?
Huh?
The original trilogy, right? Or in the
yeah, for the original Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Okay, I was wondering, like, because this was so 20 years ago, so like I was really wondering how much was practical and how much was
like
CGI.
they did have a lot of horses.
Mm-hmm.
They did have a lot of people in costume, but for like the very, very wide shots.
That makes sense.
That's
so, like, there's no way you could have hired that many people.
Yeah, it is also like one of the early times of CG battle scenes, because at this time frame, Attack of the Clones and the second Lord of the Rings came out the same year, and so CG battles was mainly Star Wars, and then Lord of the Rings came in with a different style for CG battles, more realistic and fantasy. And that's really the main gist of it. They probably used a brand new camera for sure. I think The Hobbit was special because it was one of the first films to be completely shot in 3D and in IMAX. So,
question. So in the first and second movie, there were a handful, like, maybe establishing shots. I don't know, but very like high in the air camera views that wrap around something so dramatically that today would be accomplished by a drone, but looked too good and smooth to be like done by a helicopter. Or
those
maybe
were helicopters.
it was helicopter. Okay, yeah. Those shots were something.
Those are some. Like there's New
Zealand. It just didn't feel like helicopter shots. Like it felt too smooth to be helicopter shots. It was incredible. Like there was like one or two shots. I'm like, okay, that feels like a helicopter, and then that one just like, oh, holy crap.
Yeah, like they don't ever do that kind of shot for landscapes. Because most of the landscapes, even like the buildings and such, they're just models that they build. Not a whole lot of CGI is used, except for putting characters in large scale
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. But there's just so much production stuff to
How
talk about.
practical were the trees?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, the trees are full of CGI.
Okay.
But the main tree, Treebeard.
Well, that's okay. Yeah,
the main
that's
main
one
tree,
theory, so.
Treebeard, is Gimli, the same actor.
Who's Gimli?
The dwarf.
Ah, nice.
Which, like, not like now that I know that, I can't stop hearing it because they both sound the same.
Mhm.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
They're feats of movies.
I mean, I'm not like as deep as a fanatic. Like I have not watched hours of the behind the scenes
Oh,
footage.
John, you own it. You should watch it.
I own it, actually. I have all that on DVD and discs. I really could.
I
like,
legitimately thought you did. I'm not gonna lie.
I just need the time to do it, and then there's just so much.
John, you just had summer vacation. What did you do during summer vacation?
You know what I did. I watched anime.
I thought you were waning up anime after you visited me, which was right at the beginning of summer vacation.
Okay, sure. What did I watch? Stuff, I guess. Movies, TV shows, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Another element of Lord of the Rings.
All right, so
Sure.
what are your... I guess I already have a negative perception about The Hobbit. What's your quick thoughts about The Hobbit, and then what are your fears about the upcoming series?
All right, so
now that I have more context.
Yeah, with The Hobbit, it was kind of doomed before they started filming, because it was supposed to be done by this one director. They had all the pre-production for that style, but then something happened between him and the studio. He couldn't do it, and so they're like, we have to do this quickly. And so they just brought back Peter Jackson.
Interesting.
And like, he had no time. He had like months to just do his brand new pre-production for everything. Like, for that, applaud him for making as well as he could. But a lot of changes so fast. The studio was like kicking in. Whereas Lord of the Rings, they were not. The main change, I can't really explain the main changes very well, but the main changes specifically was it was going to be more of an ensemble of the large cast. But then when they had in the studio and Peter Jackson come in, they made it smaller, and all the other characters are just kind of in the background, which made them sad. It was originally just going to be 2 films, but they wanted to make more money, so they turned it into 3, which just dragged things on even longer. They tried a new technique, which is this. Hobbit was the first film to be released with 60 frames per second versus the typical 24.
Wait, wasn't it 48?
Yes, yeah, 48, which the movement made it look realistic, which people thought looked worse because they were used to the 24 frames a second.
Is there a version with the 24 frames?
No.
Frick. I don't know. I hate faster frame rate. I want my 24 or 30.
Right.
I can't do 60.
Right. Well, 60 is fun depending on what you're doing, but for
Well,
cinema,
yeah, it depends
it
what you're
just
doing.
it looks weird when you're doing cinema because it looks real. We're not expecting real.
Yeah, I heard about that from the get-go, and then but you continue to see like high frame rate things, just like
I believe The Hobbit, because the red camera. You know what the red camera is?
Yeah, but they talk about that Liberty, but they're like, you can't touch that. That's only for cinema people.
I believe the Red Kema is also the first for The Hobbit.
Okay, that's really cool.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just
Possible.
making
I
these
would
things
believe
up.
it.
Yeah. No. They just add shoehorned subplots and romance that weren't in the books.
Why?
Why? Because the studio thinks that's what people need.
What isn't it wild that after this successful original trilogy that they think that they need to change crap? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah, but like overall, with just all the impossible odds that was just forced upon Peter Jackson, who wasn't originally planning to be in charge, was going to do this film. They did a decent job. I liked the first one because it was the closest to the book, and then the rest are just those where you can really see the influence of the studio and what they wanted.
Okay, so when we were talking about Star Wars, you kind of made a comment about since Lucas wasn't involved with anything after the 6 movies in Clone Wars, that essentially Disney's Star Wars is essentially fan fiction. You know what I mean? You made that comment.
I mean, I did mention fan fiction.
Well, I'm just saying, like, because it wasn't part of Luke. It's not Lucas's thing. You know what I mean?
No, I was
like
joking.
this,
I was joking about fan fiction.
but
Where it's
like it makes sense. You know what you're saying with that, right?
It's official fan fiction.
It's official
That's
fan
canon.
fiction.
Because
So
the fans were writing their stories and making it canon versus actual fan fiction. That was more of a joke and less of my critique of the studio.
I know, but that's a good point.
That's a good
You know what I
point
mean?
to make, really.
So is that essentially the case with this new Lord of the Rings series?
So there's new Lord of the Rings. Like Tolkien has had like a bunch of things that he wrote as explaining the world. They're not stories. They're more like these little facts and details that he wrote that his son published after he died. He just took all of his notes and published them into these different books for extra details about lore, 100-year backstories and such. Because Tolkien was just like that. He was just like making his world and such.
I mean,
like,
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, he had never planned to like release them for anything. He was just writing it for his sake. And those notes are like what they're gonna detail in this series, but the notes don't really have a story attached to it, like the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit. So they're gonna try and put pieces together. But again, the worry is like what their goal is. Like, is their goal to like do a Lord of the Rings series with the heart of Tolkien, or is their goal is we need something to compete against Game of Thrones, which is everyone's worry about this show.
The fact that they're releasing at the same time is ridiculous.
Right. Which surprisingly, Game of Thrones, this new show, has the most viewed premiere for HBO. Which like is odd because like all the hype came in like a month ago. No one is excited for Lord of the Rings. Like they're all like, yes. A lot of people are just judging it before it comes out. It makes sense because the writers are, from just the small tidbits that we've seen, like they're like I told you last time, is that when Peter Jackson was doing Lord of the Rings, he's like, we made this distinction not to put in our modern views or comparisons into the world of Tolkien because that's not what the point is of the story. Versus here, it's like, oh, we noticed that there's similarities between our world and the Tolkien's world that just worked out. We're gonna do. So that's a lot of worry. I say from a production standpoint, it's probably gonna look fantastic. I mean, the show is $1 billion.
Holy.
I think.
The frick?
Yeah.
Gotta double check that, man.
Rings of Power. Let me double check that for sure.
Bro,
But
they're not making back that money. I mean,
They're
I know
not.
it's Amazon, but holy. I mean, I know Amazon has expendable money, but wow.
okay, they have. Let me guess. Okay, just for the rights to make the TV show, is $250 million.
Okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Um, let me look at this article. But yeah, no. What's even worse is that Amazon is just they've made the mistake of investing too much in this show, because based upon how this show works out, that's how they're going to determine the future of Prime streaming. So the fate of the streaming, what they're going to do, depends on this show.
That's unhealthy.
Okay, so like they have a $1 billion budget, but at this time, $715 million is like what's been used. Is my understanding.
Which includes the rights.
Because
Because if it includes the rights, okay, I could say, okay, you only use 500 million to make the episode.
I think
Like that's still a lot, but
no. So that's not including the rights.
Oh my gosh.
It's 715 for the production.
What am I doing with my life?
So that is $1 billion.
I need some of that Amazon money.
Right. Like, of course, Amazon Studios assures that such investment is thinking in the long term, and they had to take over the franchise in a way or another against the competition. But it's not going to go well.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it depends how they treat it all, but
I mean,
hopes
I'm
are
going to
low.
watch it.
Right. So when are you watching it?
So it comes out Friday?
You have Amazon Prime.
I do.
Just making sure. So you have not seen Game of Thrones yet? Or
No, I've
House
not.
of Dragon. Okay.
I have not.
Okay, so quick pivot onto HBO Max. Harley Quinn was renewed for season 4, and House of Dragon was renewed for season 2. What are your thoughts on that?
House of Dragon, I think, makes sense because of just how many people tuned in and are liking the show so far. Harley Quinn kind of makes sense because people really like the show. The thing that I'm more iffy about is because HBO Max and animation are not, especially with the merger, are not hand in hand. But here's the thing: it could also be a thing where season 4 is already done, or they're far into production, and they're announcing it, and we'll probably release it in just a few months, because the first 2 seasons came out within like 3 months of each other. So it could be a thing like that, or it could just be people like the show, and I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do I really care for another season? No, because I have my reasons.
Mm-hmm. And Batman is out for shopping.
Batman is looking to be picked up by Apple TV, Hulu, and Netflix.
Which is sad that it's not going to be part of the DC hub.
But at least like studios are interested in.
That is good.
Yeah, I don't want Apple TV because who has Apple TV?
Well, you once they pick up the show.
Yeah, but like Hulu and Netflix are the most likely.
Bro, that'd
I-
be so weird if it was Hulu.
It would. I'm thinking Netflix is the likely place to go to.
Bro, imagine Hulu finally gets sunk into Disney.
Yeah,
Plus.
because I think Netflix just will let them do their stories. But the thing with Netflix that's not a certainty is like greenlighting another season
Hmm.
because they're not very good at that.
Well,
Whereas
they canceled a
Hulu,
lot of shows this year.
oh, they did. Hulu. Oh, yeah. Speaking of Netflix, the TV show Gotham is leaving Netflix.
I don't know what that show is.
No, but that's another thing that's on my list that's gone from Netflix. That's been moved. That's moving to HBO Max.
Well, thankfully, it's moving to HBO Max.
But it's still like, my goodness, really? That's moving to HBO Max as soon as I don't have it anymore. I was actually rewatching this show,
Oh my gosh!
and it's
So
being
now
moved.
it's time to get HBO Max again and
I'm
catch
not.
up on
Like,
on House of Dragon.
Like I'm
It's
probably
perfect,
just gonna
John.
I'm probably just gonna buy the show on DVD.
John, it's perfect. You get to watch Gotham and House of Dragon. It's beautiful.
I'll do that next year.
John, there won't be a next year.
Early next year before the summer hits.
John,
I'll do a large binge. And then we'll be gone forever. Don't judge me.
I can.
You can't, but
You can't stop me.
you can't stop me. But yeah, Lord of the Rings is this film thing that you watched.
That's all I really have to say, unless you're able to bring up some stuff
Bring up some stuff.
regarding Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. I mean, I'd have to watch them again.
Okay. Cool. Well, I have some crap. I need crap.
Yeah,
I have
I'm
something
sure
I
you
need to
do.
do for Semper Metalum, which I was not expecting to do because I was hoping to go straight to bed after this, but I'm not able to because I have to do this thing. And then I'll be able to go to bed because I have to be at work at 8:30 tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I'm not thrilled about that. Let me set my alarm because I didn't do
Friday,
that.
I have a midnight show, which
Oh
is,
no.
I don't love it, but that's a thing.
I don't love that.
But which
Oh.
means I have more time during the day to watch Lord of the Rings. So
True.
the show. So I
What
guess
is-
that's a plus.
That's hitting tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Technically.
Crazy.
But anyway, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you on next time.
Oh, John, just one quick thing. I have something that I need to say. It may sound like I'm just fishing for some headlines, but I'm really not. Because it's true. They were considering me to play Hannah Montana. Like, you've been hearing about like all these names in like the past like 2 or 3 weeks of like, oh, she was supposed to play Hannah Montana. Oh, right, they wanted me to play Hannah Montana, but the honest truth is that they were considering me to play Hannah Montana. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but just know that they were considering me to play Hannah Montana.
And we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.